Okay, guys, what's up? This is Gina Ifoe, the one and only African superstar, back at it again with another live stream. Today, I want to talk about current events yet again. This situation in Ukraine and Russia is still developing, and I want to talk about the current situation of Africans in Ukraine is as far as what's been coming out throughout the social media. Okay. Several people that are in Ukraine have been posting on social media. They have been circulating videos. They have been kind of sharing the situation. I've seen that there's been some YouTube interviews with people that are in Ukraine and so on and so forth. And this should yet again resonate to our people, you know, that we don't have any allies and we don't have any friends, and that this is all the more reason our focus should be on our own homeland, where we can be safe, where we can be respected, where we can have prospects of family and generational wealth, etc., etc. Whenever you become a minority in someone else's setting, you are at their beck and call. They decide how life is going to go for you. They decide what opportunities that you're going to be provided. Okay. And in this case, for those of you who don't know, I mean, I don't know how you couldn't know, but a couple days ago, Russia invaded Ukraine. Okay. These are some Eastern European countries. And unfortunately, there is a sizable amount of African students, a lot of what I've heard, that are there at some local universities, Nigerians, Ghanaians, South Africans I've seen so far. And they are there, you know, for one reason or another. And now the discrimination has started. All right. The Ukrainians are trying to evacuate the city and go to other cities and go across the Polish border, which is another one of their country, you know, border countries. And they have started discriminating on Africans in the region. Okay. There's a, what's up, T-Bone Slim? Big shout out to the family, guys. If you're here, leave me something in the chat. I see you there. So from what I understand, they have started discriminating. There's one particular post that's been going on Instagram and Twitter from a gentleman that said that he's at the train station and he's been trying for hours to get on the train because they have a preference for children, then women, then white men, and then Africans are the last option to board the train. So, this has been coming out. I actually posted it in our community tab. So you see that as soon as crisis hits, you know, as soon as crisis hits, they're showing their true colors yet again. Yet again. Now, many of us Pan-Africans and pro-blacks have been telling other blacks this period since been pimping, telling them, hey, look, you know, it's better for us just to build our own stuff. It's better for us just to go ahead and focus on our own backyard because this is constantly happening. We saw this happen during coronavirus out there in Asia, China. You know, people were, you know, evicting Africans during the coronavirus situation over there in China. Okay, leaving them stranded without anywhere to go. And I mean, I think psychologically it really speaks to the low self-esteem that our people have, because our people feel like they have to tolerate this kind of treatment. Now, T-Bone Slims brings up a good point. A lot of people are always going to play the blame game. Okay, a lot of people are always going to play the blame game. He says, I have seen posts of Africans blaming African governments for the situation, but what does that have to do with personal decisions to go there? You see, that's it. And I would say to the continentals that watch me, this is something that you really have to consider when you're getting ready to leave your home. Okay. You have no allies wherever you're going. You should know that. From what I understand, the situation with Ukraine and Russia has been ongoing. It's recently escalated to the point that it is now. I would advise those of you that are going to the international community, you need to know what's going on politically in the country you're going to. You know, because I think sometimes our people live in a freaking la-la land. You know, and I do blame religion for that. I blame religion for the happy ending. I blame religion for the savior complex. You know, instead of our people being proactive and doing things to take care of themselves, they're waiting for someone else to do it all the time. You know, in this particular case, you have people that are in Ukraine, and yes, they're blaming African governments. They're blaming African governments for no evacuation plans. They're blaming African governments for some of the reasons that they decided to travel in the beginning. But the reality is you always have choices. And I would say at minimum, you're living in that country. You see that tensions are heightening. Okay. You are probably hearing that other countries are advising their citizens to leave. From what I do see, there were some memos that went out to the students in Ukraine that, hey, you know, the situation is getting a bit escalated. You may consider leaving. You know, at that point, the government wasn't providing resources to leave. I don't know if any governments were providing resources for their citizens to leave. But at the end of the day, guys, your life is your responsibility. I mean, I think a lot of us put way too much energy into the government. Okay, the government is not your daddy. It's not your mommy. Okay, and the government has a responsibility for millions of people that they have to look after. Okay, you may feel special, you may think that you're special, but at the end of the day, you're just another number to these governments, and you need to have a stake in your own survival and safety. I would have said at minimum, you know, the biggest indicator for me that the situation was getting serious is if Americans were told to evacuate and they started evacuating Ukraine. That would have been a great moment for you to know, okay, this is serious. Okay, so even, you know, you're coming from Nigeria or coming from Ghana, the likelihood of your governments in these countries evacuating you, chartering a plane, buying you a ticket, it's not likely, guys. Let's go ahead and realize the world that we live in. But what you could have done on your own behalf is get the hell out. You didn't have to wait for bombs to come. But see, this is the frame of our people's minds. Okay? The frame of our people's mind is someone's going to save us. Someone's going to save us. They're going to do the right thing. So now you see that a situation within a situation. So you have the Russians attacking the Ukrainians, creating, you know, an unsafe environment. Now, the Ukrainians are taking this opportunity to distinguish themselves from the Africans or the foreigners or whatever. Okay, they're making sure, hey, we got these trains going to another city. We're going to make sure our citizens get on there first. We're going to make sure our women and kids get on the trains first. You guys going to have to figure it out. Hello? Hello? You know, this situation needs to illuminate to us, again, a few things. We don't have any allies. Okay. Number two, you need to be responsible for yourself. Okay. Make decisions for yourself. Okay. For instance, if you're going to these countries, maybe you should entertain a backup plan. What will I do if something happens in Europe? You know, maybe you should have an emergency fund that you can always get a ticket back home. You know, I did watch an interview on one of these channels on YouTube, and there was a young man who's a student in Ukraine, and he chose to fly back to Ghana 2 days before the bomb threats. He was abreast of what was happening in the country. He saw that the situation was getting more serious. So he didn't wait on Nana Addo to tell him to leave. And he didn't wait to see what's going to happen. He said, you know what, just in case, let me go home. You guys are always foreigners in their lands. That's just the truth. You guys are always foreigners in their lands. I don't care if your family done been there for 100 years. Okay, take this from someone who was born and raised in America. Okay, Black Americans are still seen to white Americans as Africans. Okay, our people now have been in the U.S. for centuries. Okay, we're still not seen as indigenous to America. So all the more those of you that migrate, you migrated 5 years ago, you migrated 10 years ago, you are still to them an African. And guess what? Even if you give birth in that country, that child is not indigenous to those lands. You are always a stranger in your country. You're always a foreigner in your country. You know, I had this conversation with my mom, who's from Bermuda. Okay. One time my mom, let her documents expire in Bermuda. And sure enough, a situation came up and she needed to go to Bermuda, and her documents weren't valid. And I had this very same conversation with my mom. I kid you not. I said, Mom, you are a foreigner. You should always make sure your documents are valid. You should always make sure your stuff is on point, because you just never know, guys. And a lot of you guys don't want to take it in. You don't want to see these people for who they are. And every opportunity that they have, they're letting you know who they are. They're letting you know what time it is. And a lot of you guys just don't have pride. Because see, me personally, I'll be damned if I'm disrespected. I'll be damned if I'm disrespected. And when I even felt disrespected, you see what I'm saying? Because I have a kind of energy where a lot of people don't mess with me. It is what it is. They might be scared. I don't know. I'm not a violent person. I've only had a handful of fights in my whole life, but I give the energy that I'm not playing around. Okay. But even in the situations where I indirectly felt like I was disrespected, my goal was always to alleviate myself from those situations and remove myself from those situations. You guys are not peons. You're not second-class citizens. You're not inferior. You're not bitches. You should not allow other people to mistreat you for whatever reason. And just because maybe in certain settings they have more economic power than you do, that doesn't make them better than you. And this is why our focal point should be home. That is why. Because even in a war situation, if the Ukrainians were thinking about safety for all those in the region, it would simply be first come, first serve. Those that are here, get on the train and go. The next train, these are here that'll go. No, they segregated. Okay, they made sure their people is going to be safe first and foremost. There's videos going around social media where Africans are at the train station stranded. Stranded. The second part of it is there's an international law. Okay, big shout out to Blackavelli. He's always showing support with the super chats. Much love, Blackavelli. I see you there, brother. I appreciate you. There's also, information going around that when the Africans, there have been some that have reached the Polish border, which apparently must be the nearest border to the situation, they're not being allowed to enter into Poland. Now, there's an international law that says when an act of war happens, the neighboring country has to receive refugees from that situation. Okay? But these people are still using this as an opportunity for segregation. Like I said, I don't know what all y'all need to know. Because I have told y'all, born and raised in America, I never felt safe there. I never felt safe there. And you know what this situation is telling us? This can happen anywhere. Do you think if this was America, it wouldn't be the same? Do you think that they wouldn't make it an opportunity to show racism? They can't help but show racism because it's innate to them. You guys think that somehow because you are citizens of these countries or you live in these countries, you have documents in these countries, that they see you as their own peer? They don't. This situation should tell you what time it is. Crisis come, they don't care. from what I heard on the trains, they were preferencing women and children, but the African women and children were still not included in the children and women. They were still rejecting them until the Africans, were forcing their women on the trains. Big shout outs to the family. Wildflower, yeah, this is a great point. USA did inform U.S. citizens a month ago to leave. Okay, so let me get this straight. Let me calculate this. The U.S. is notifying American citizens, okay, hey, you should get out because the situation with Russia is escalating. And yet it's still other citizens of other nations are hearing this, seeing this, and they're waiting for their own personal country to warn them. Now, let's think about this. I mean, I know that critical thinking is a lost art, but let's think about this here. Okay, so U.S., who has military power, okay, is warning their people, hey, get out of here. Now, other countries without military power have yet to respond. It's safe to say that many of these other countries, a lot of African countries, weren't even paying attention to the situation in Russia. What I'm in essence saying, let me not get off topic here. What I'm in essence saying is, as an African, as a Black person abroad, you need to always have your ducks in a row. You need to always have a plane fare back home. You need to always have your documents straight. I'm pretty sure some of those people in Ukraine, the reason that maybe they didn't want to evacuate was because of papers. But now they're stranded in a country that's experiencing war. So what the hell is worse? Now there's bombs going off. Okay, how are they going to eat? What are they going to do? All the shops are shut. And it's cold as hell over there. So you can't even be outside for extended times. You'll be affected by the weather. You see, these are things you got to always think. When COVID lockdowns came, that made me think about, wow, how would I ever get out of the UK if I really needed to? If there were no planes, how could I do it? Now, technically, I can get to the continent from the UK. There's a way by land to do it. You can drive, to get here and so on and so forth. All right. You could walk, push come to shove. I mean, it's going to take a lot, but you could technically walk. But see, if you're in the U.S., you can't walk to Africa. No, you can't. If you're in China, you're stuck. You need a plane to get back home. If the airports are shut, and I would say now in 2022, the airports being shut seems to be quite a real reality. That's not something that I really experienced growing up. I never saw the airport shut ever or international travel cease ever, except for September 11th. That's the only time prior to COVID I ever saw that. So that was never really like a concept in my mind, is that, oh, I'm not going to have access to air travel. But that's something that now, 2022, you need to think about. And let me tell you, when you're moving, wherever you're moving, also look at the amenities in your area. That should be a normal rule of thumb for you. Is there a hospital? Is there food? Is there, the amenities? Because fuel prices are going to go up now, everybody's talking about it. How are you going to get what you need? Some of you guys are making moves and you're not thinking far. And that's why this is going to impact you a lot. But this situation has illuminated so much, and it should teach you. Okay, it should teach you. You need to always be strategic. You need to mind what's happening around you. Okay, you need to try your best to fortify your life at home. Stop getting out in Europe and thinking, oh yeah, I'm just going to settle, make my life here. No, when they have conflicts, now it's your conflict. Just imagine a conflict between Russia and Ukraine. That's not a Black man's conflict. That has nothing to do with us. But because our people are there, living, going to school, and all that, now they're affected. Now they're affected dealing with Ukrainian problems, and they're not even Ukrainian, and the Ukrainian people is not looking out. And God only knows what's happening to the Black people in Russia. We haven't heard nothing from the Russian side, but I know there's Black people in Russia. So, and you guys move out to these very non-diverse places just thinking that you're going to be safe, thinking everybody's your friend. These kind of crises let you know that ain't nobody cool. We got Lady Visionary here. Big shout outs to her. Lady Visionary echoes what I said about China. She says, look how they were treating blacks in China during the height of COVID. Black people think they have friends. These people do not care for us. Is that new? No, it's not new. This is exactly it. Blackavelli says, if World War III pops off, the continent is one of the safest places to be, period. You guys may not recognize or pay attention, but the continent has not been a part of any world wars. Vietnam, none of that. Korea, you know, the Cold War. I mean, in a certain way, it's great to be ignored in this respect, you know, because we're not going to be a part of what they have going on. So real talk, if Africans were living in their countries, we could just turn off the TV about Ukraine and Russia, because those are definitely not our homelands. So if we were where we were supposed to be, you know, now definitely, you know, this is no disrespect to any of you guys that may have family or friends out there. I realize we have some servicemen, you know, and things like that in our family. I know Barbara Sutton's daughter, she mentioned her daughter is on a ship out there for the U.S. Army. So obviously I do know it touches close to home in some ways because we have people that are connected to this crisis. But this is something that we got to think about, guys. I mean, it's so blaringly obvious to me. You know, it's so blaringly obvious to me that, you know, the main goal is to be here on the continent. You know, the main goal and focus should be putting that energy into our own homelands, you know, because I guarantee the things that's happening, the things that happen to us abroad, they don't happen here. You know, in America, you see gun violence, black on black crime every day. You know, here on the continent, that's not the case. You know, a lot of factors that's affecting black in the West is not affecting us here on the homeland because of our regard for each other here. You know, if that same situation happened here in Ghana, you know, if we had a conflict with a neighboring country and people are evacuating, we wouldn't segregate and say, oh, wow, you're Lebanese, you're Chinese, get to the back. Oh, you're Nigerian, all Ghanaians first. We wouldn't do that. You know, we would just let everybody, you know, do what they need to do. But our non-black counterparts are using this as an opportunity, you know, to, again, show their true colors. So these are my thoughts on this topic. Big shout outs to those of you that are here. Make sure that you like the stream. Also, big shout outs to my super chat donor, Mr. Blockavelli. He always shows love. I appreciate you, brother. It goes a little bit, goes a long way. So thank you so much for your love. Big shout outs to my members only. They're designated by the circle next to their name. If any of you are here today. Until we meet again, stay black and true. If you ain't black, just stay true.